Good afternoon, Slug Entrepreneurs. My name is Sadhna Chimla Murray, and join me once again for a new episode of Find Out Who Our CEO Is. So here with us, we have Carol Marcus, Ms. Rettmeyer. Ms. Rettmeyer, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I came from the entrepreneurial world. So I was an entrepreneur for, many years, more than 23 years. I was in the toy industry. I developed toys and products and licensed and manufactured. And then I decided I wanted to do things that help the community. And I started working with museums, and I started working with not-for-profits and schools and educators. And ultimately, it took me to a path here.
Right.
So that's the quick 20-second version.
Nice. So if y'all don't know, we are currently at the University of Texas at Dallas. So this is where I go, and this is where Ms. Rettmeyer also is the executive director of the Institution of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, as well as the associate professor of instruction at the Jindal School of Management. So you are definitely an accomplished lady. So can I ask, what is one of the 3 biggest lessons you've learned throughout your life?
Believe in yourself.
Okay.
That's the most important thing. So easy to get distracted and someone to tell you you're going the wrong direction or not believe in you. Believe in yourself. And you know what? Get gritty. Just gritty, meaning that say, I'm going to do it. I can make it. I've done it before. I'm going to do it again.
Nice. So I kind of want to start a little earlier. So you said you were in the toy industry. What is your favorite toy that you worked with or developed?
We developed a lot of products, and some were a lot of fun. Some were silly. We did silly products like Pom-Pom Barbie and Baton Barbie and dolls that go pee and silly stuff. But some of the fun ones that you probably heard of include bubble tape, the gum that comes in a roll.
Yep, it looks like that.
Yes, there it is. And Pretty Princess and Mall Madness and hundreds of other products that we sold billions of worldwide. They still sell today. So that's always a lot of fun.
Nice. I'm curious, what did the Barbie that peed do?
No, the Barbie did pom-poms.
Oh, okay.
She was Baton and Pop. That was a different doll that went potty. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Not the toys.
Okay, got you. So while in the toy industry, what is one of the biggest things that you learned specific to the toy industry?
In the toy industry, it's a very aggressive industry where you constantly have to come up with the latest and the greatest. So what it taught me is you can have a huge success one day, and then the next day, it doesn't matter. You have to continually come up with ideas, continually come up with success stories, and always be pertinent. Understand who's your target audience and what do they want. Right. And that's really the key to success there. But constantly churning and burning, I guess, in that industry, but always connecting to who you're meaning to make that magic with, make those connections.
Got you. So from what I can tell, it's a very difficult industry to get into, right? It's a lot of work, right? So what made you interested in the toy industry?
You know, I was impressed by professors. When I was in college, in my undergraduate, I was in industrial design at the time. I was the only female in the class back then. And he was just inspired, and he was polished, and I want to know, what did he do? And in industrial design, a lot of people develop products like automobiles and machinery. It just really didn't connect with me. But he was in the toy industry. That sounded fun. It sounded engaging. It sounded like you could create a product and see it to fruition, fairly quickly. And it sounded exciting. So I followed that path, and I much later honored him for all of his help to get in that path. But it was a professor, so I'm very, universities and professors are very near and dear to my heart because they can inspire.
Yeah. Is that why you're actually teaching right now? What inspired you to work at a university?
It is. I want to give back. I want to inspire others. I want to engage, and I like to create things. And at the Innovation Institute, I'm able to create new opportunities and goals, inspire many people. I also have a passion to help those in the community who are disadvantaged and get them excited about opportunities and thinking about higher education. So, yes, it's to inspire.
Can I ask why University of Texas at Dallas?
University of Texas Dallas is really a special university. I was blown away when I first came here because I'm originally from Chicago.
Okay.
So I wasn't familiar with the school. Blown away by the people, the quality, the brilliance, the students. They're so smart. They're so dedicated. And they seem so mature. So very impressed by the University of Texas at Dallas. Really special place.
Yeah, personally, I love UTD as well. I think it's a great school. So for all of y'all looking to join a college, check UT Dallas out.
And join the Innovation Entrepreneurship Center because we have degrees from undergraduate all the way to master's in innovation. And we help them with their ideas. We help them be successful. So there's extraordinary help and people who are behind the scenes that help students. So it's pretty magical.
You get a lot of support from all the professors, such as yourself, and then all the people out here. So it's an incredible place for you to learn. So kind of to go off of a little bit more about the toy industry and your entrepreneurial experience, what's one of the biggest things that you wish you knew before getting into the industry itself?
Oh, there's so much. I wish I had an innovation entrepreneurship degree, plan, and opportunity. There wasn't anything at that time. So I learned by mistake, and there were a lot of mistakes made. And one of the key things I learned at being an entrepreneur for a long time is surround yourself with the best minds, the best attorneys, accountants, everything that would be support. And I really couldn't underscore that enough. And the other is pay yourself first. Because in building up a business, particularly when you're an entrepreneur and you're starting small, you're thinking, well, we'll pay everybody else. We'll make sure they get their salaries. Right. Always take care of yourself, or it's really going to be a chore. And that's a hard lesson.
Yeah, because I always assumed that you always paid everyone else, and you were, because usually the founder is the one that gets paid last, or usually gets
and
the
that's
least,
the
right?
thinking, but you shouldn't. You need to set it aside, pay yourself a salary. It's a job, and you shouldn't undermine yourself or your abilities or what you bring to the table. So always take care of yourself too, and your family. Don't forget the family.
Right. So also you mentioned that you did work with museums and stuff like that. How did that process work?
Well, I was on board of directors for a museum. This is in the Chicago area. And I was just to fix it. It was going through some struggle. It wasn't financially as strong. Wasn't reaching as many people. So they brought me in because I'm a business fixer. And I love doing that and love doing things that are community focused. And I found that I really love the forward facing part of working with the community and doing things that are beyond myself. We did a preschool that was for disadvantaged youth to get them excited about STEM and STEM education, and it became something really successful. And so, so then I went to another museum after that because I love the forward-facing, giving back, doing something really bigger than me, community-minded.
Right. It's really great to have entrepreneurs that are focusing on developing everyone around them, not just focusing on the business. It's really great to learn from people like you.
Well, I think it's a key, and there's a certain point in your life, I think throughout your life actually, but there's a certain point in your life where you say, I want to do something that gives back to the community. And I feel we all have an obligation to do so.
Right.
And when we do, it's just so meaningful. And it's not work anymore. You're doing something for a bigger, better cause, and that's my passion.
So I'm curious, what made you realize that this was what you wanted to do, whether it's giving back to nonprofits or like working in the toy industry? Like, what was that first aha moment that you had?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd say my aha moment was two parts. One, when I was in the toy industry, very successful. I was doing super well, and I was top of the game. And I felt like it was a Forrest Gump moment where he was running off and stopped and just goes, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore, because I wasn't sure I was getting fulfilled. And I thought, what is it that's fulfilling me? And that was when I was on the board of directors at this museum and realized how I was helping disadvantaged children, inspiring the community, building wealth for the community. I thought, what a great thing to do. That was my aha moment. So it was on the side. It wasn't even a job I anticipated doing, but it was community-minded, and I realized I love doing things that are for the community, that are giving back. And
Got you.
That's been my path ever since.
So what got you introduced into the museum space out of all the other areas you could have went to?
So I had a building. It was a 5-story, beautiful building in the Chicagoland area, across the river from a museum. And the museum was started by Argonne National Laboratories and Fermilab. It was a science physics museum, and it needed some help. And I was just a board member, and I wasn't as participatory as I should have been. But when they ran into some challenges, they leaned on me and said, could you help us? Can you interim be the director? Can you fix our challenges? Can you raise money for us? Can you engage the community? I thought, okay. I really did have a big a lot of thought going into it. I just thought, okay, it's my turn to help. I will do it. And I just fell in love with helping. I fell in love with the opportunity to do something big. And that's how I got in the museum industry. It was just as a need and to help. And I decided, you know what, I like this.
Nice. So I'm curious because you were a CEO, you were working in the toy industry, and you also had time to volunteer and help out with this museum, I guess, right? How did you manage your time so that you were able to do all that?
Well, that's one of my lessons is you something has to give, and I think my family time could have been better, and I learned later to spend more time with my family and my daughter and such. So that's part of it. The other part is I had a great team. And when you have great people you work with, it's really wonderful to be able to leave it in their capable hands. And that's always my goal as a leader, is to inspire others to step up and to grow and to take the reins. And then I move on. So I'm a builder, and I like to build other people as well.
Got you. So when you talk about team, what makes a good team? What helped you decide that your team was your team? Like, how did you decide on who they were?
A good team takes some time. It takes some time to have that synergy, to be symbiotic. But what it really takes is passion. So you have to have people on your team who are passionate and can see the same mission. And you have to be able to articulate that mission successfully. So if they can see the excitement behind what you're doing, they too are going to be passionate. Then you have to give them the opportunity to grow. Not micromanage, but allow them to grow within the organization. And listen to other people. Bring them around the table. Make it a collaborative project and decision-making. And then they're inspired and they want to do more. But that's what makes it a good team. But it takes a little time to build and to get the synergy and the collaboration and the trust with each other.
Is it like how they say in team, there's no I? Is that kind of how it works?
I'd say it's very true. And I would say also at the top of an organization, it can be very I-focused because that person's sacrificing a lot. They're doing a lot of things for themselves. That's why I said take care of yourself first, and now you're a part of the team.
Yeah.
And now you can all share. Otherwise, you feel like, wow, I'm really sacrificing. Everybody owes me. And you really need to change that if you're a leader. I don't know who we're talking to here, but if you're a leader, when you become a leader, make sure you take care of yourself, give back, and get the community, get your team engaged so you feel like you're a part of the team and you're leading the cause and really listening to others.
So you also mentioned how you have to share your vision to your team and anyone you're working with. How do you motivate and share your vision in a way that it's more like works the best, I guess?
I think the key is that you're passionate yourself. If you care about something and it's meaningful, you're going to articulate it that way, and they're going to get excited. And enthusiasm is infectious. So if you're excited about a goal and you say, we're going to help these people, here's why, here's what we're going to do, and you can explain the why behind it, others can get on that train and get excited about it as well. And if they're not, you probably don't have the right team member, and maybe you can make a different selection.
Got you. Okay, so I have a few more questions. So beyond your work at the Science Technology Hands-On Museum, right, you were able to increase revenue over 260% and increase membership by over 525%. That's incredible. How did you manage to do that?
So what I looked at was our connection to the community. What is meaningful? And it's whatever you are doing, whether it's a museum, a product, or something else that you're creating, what's your connection? Why do they care? And looking at that, saying, how can we change our programming? And we added some new things, not only at that museum, but the museum I followed later in Corpus Christi, Texas. We added engagement. We realized we had a lot of history. The kids really weren't that excited about it.
Yeah.
It was a little dry. Yeah. So we added Museum Live, which were characters that were actors that stayed in character and told the story from a first-person perspective. And it made it fun, made it engaging. We created these vignettes, so it was like an environment that you would walk in. We looked at ways to add technology. We looked at ways to add languages, so we could change the language and the engagement, and add AI, add technology, do other things that are fun, constantly change it up, tell different stories. Yeah. Looked at ways we can engage the community, and we realized that in the community in Chicago we had a high disadvantage population, and we realized the museum was not inspiring. It was, and actually the same in Corpus Christi as well. It was very beige. It was austere, and it didn't look welcoming. So we said, how can we add color and engagement and fun? We added lights and all kinds of color to it. All those things. Everything you can think of is say, how do we connect better? How can we make our story their story? What is it the community wants?
Yeah, very interesting. So I have a few more questions, right? When you were working as the toy industry or in the museum itself, if you could change one thing about the industry, what would it be?
In the museum industry as a whole, has in the past been very tied to an old-fashioned methodology, which is you walk through a museum. You ask anybody, what is a museum like? You walk through and you read things, you see things on the wall. I love to add more engagement, more excitement. I love to add more immersive experiences. My goal, too, is as you go through a museum, each time you go through, you have a different experience. There's reasons to constantly come back. But just looking at it in a different lens, different perspective, and bringing it up to date with all the technology we have, AI and so much more, how can we make it more immersive and more inspiring? And they say that children particularly, but adults as well, are engaged by something they see at a museum.
Right.
It's a high number. It's over 80% of students who say they were inspired to do something, particularly in STEM. They were inspired through a museum. So I think we have a responsibility to really excite them and get them engaged in new ways.
Yeah. No, I think one of my favorite museums I went to is like the Parrot Museum, like in Dallas.
Perot? Yes.
Yeah. They had like this cow section where they were doing experiments on cow eyes. I know that sounds bad, but it was very interesting at the time. And I think that really made me interested in science. I was obsessed with science for a while, and I think it was mainly because of that museum. So it really does help.
It works.
Yeah,
yes.
It does. So I have a few more questions. So in the toy industry in specific, you once mentioned that you brought in more female-based toys or female-oriented toys into the industry. How did that work?
So it's an interesting story. So looking for that niche, so that unique element that isn't out there. We started doing some research. What we realized there are very few products that were particularly games for young girls. And so we decided that we're going to start creating some girls' products. The interesting part is when I first came up with the Pretty Pretty Princess concept, we presented it to the industry because we were licensing it to major companies like Mattel and Hasbro and Fisher-Price and on and on. And the response was surprisingly negative. Yes, they said, why in the world would you create a product that's for 50% of our audience? Why would you limit it? And besides, girls don't play games. So instead of saying no, this is that gritty part. And you know you're right. Show it, prove it, but do it in the right way.
Right.
So we show them that not only do girls play games, but they're not playing the games in the same level that boys were because they weren't appropriate for them, weren't appropriate for their play pattern. That girls were more likely to sit down quietly and play a game. But we wanted to inspire. And what were girls doing at that time? They were playing tea. They were playing role-playing of different sorts, being a princess. We thought, how could we put that in a game format and give it a little structure? And that's how we came up with Pretty Pretty Princess and many other products. And the success proved that we were right. Girls just wanted something that helped them engage in the type of play pattern that they do.
Nice. So she really did revolutionize the whole toy industry in terms of the female audience, which is incredible because I love my dolls. I collected dolls. So that's really nice. So now we're getting into girl talk. So a few questions on you as a female entrepreneur. You mentioned that you were one of the only females in your degree plan, right? How did that impact your viewpoint on entrepreneurship or the industry itself?
Well, it made me say, I really need to go into business for myself. The men at the time were really, I'd say, less welcoming to women and women in leadership roles. Now, this is going back a number of years. Hopefully, I believe things are much better today. But even so, I think women still struggle with the glass ceiling. They also struggle with having not just a seat at the table, but I see a voice at the table. So even though I was invited to the table, I didn't feel I had the voice. So I feel it's important to actually aspire to do something that is meaningful, that your heart is engaged in, and you will do very well. But what I learned is I needed to maybe be an entrepreneur and do something on my own where I didn't have to rely on others to judge me and to determine if a young female was appropriate in those positions. So I just made it on my own.
Right.
And that's what it takes. Just, I say, get gritty. Determine that, you know what, I can do this. I can do it on my own. And so I struck out on my own and was very successful doing so.
So when you said you did it all on your own, and that's that's incredible, like the amount of endurance and like keeping up with that is crazy. So grittiness, right?
Yes.
How did you manage to stay motivated during all that?
The motivation was the success for me at the time. Every time we'd have a product that we would license or that would sell well or that we would celebrate those successes. And that would motivate you because there'd be some dry spells too. There'd be a lot of failures, a lot of products that you would try that wouldn't go anywhere, that people didn't understand. Even the Pretty Pretty Princess, which was so popular, was a failure at first. People didn't see it and we had to prove it. So there's all those challenges that come along. The way you stay motivated is to celebrate those small successes and know that you'll have, if you did it once before, you'll do it again.
Right. Okay. So one more question. So you said that it's not just about having a seat at the table, it's having a voice at the table. How do you get that voice at the table?
That is a good question. In some cases, it's almost demanding it, but in a clever way. Knowing your story, knowing your material, and being seen as an expert in your area, you're going to be more likely to have that voice. But you're also going to have the confidence to share if you really know your story. They say, how can you stand up and speak in front of people? Well, if you know what you're talking about, it's very easy. If you don't, it's a challenge. So come to the table prepared. And when you're at the table, meaningfully add to the story. When people are talking all around you, don't sit back. Don't go into the corner. Sit right in the middle of the table or in the front. Be ready to add to the story. Or it's okay to disagree, but do it in the right way.
Okay. So it's all about the way you present yourself in these like tables and how the confidence you bring, the atmosphere you bring to these meetings, right?
Absolutely. I think you hit on it, confidence. And confidence is a real key for whatever you do in life. I also was a ballet dancer, and in dance they always say that the most important things is if they say beauty, poise, and confidence. And of those three, the most important is confidence. Because with the confidence, you don't even have to be the best dancer, but if you feel assured, other people enjoy, and they enjoy working with you, they enjoy that experience and viewing you, of course, if you're a dancer.
Yeah. So I'm curious about your dance industry. You actually worked with a lot of dance companies and stuff. What exactly, do you continue ballet or?
I do.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Wait, that's so exciting.
I still do ballet. My daughter was a professiontal ballerina.
Ooh.
Yeah, she took some time off school too, and
nice.
She's back in school, and she's studying neuroscience now.
Nice.
But ballet's been a real important part in my life and in my daughter's life, and I love it because it's that outlet. It gives you that creative outlet. It gives you excitement. It's healthy, and it's fun. You can do it throughout your entire life. So ballet has always been a real key part of my life.
Nice. So like they usually talk about having like different types of hobbies or skills in your life, right? Like the one that makes you money, the one that helps you stay creative, the one that helps release stress and stuff like that. What's your thought process on having that balanced life?
I totally agree. You need balance. You need something that makes you happy, that gives you engagement. And I love sports, and I could count ballet as a sport. It's a performing arts sport because it teaches discipline. It teaches to strive for something, to constantly do something even better and improve yourself. But it's also just joy. It's just happiness to have a break from everything that you're doing. And I would say like what's like a mindless joy, but ballet is definitely not mindless.
Yeah.
You have to think.
Yeah. It's a lot of practice too, right?
Yes.
Wow. That's very incredible though. Wow. Okay. I have a few more questions. So you actually worked with helping female entrepreneurs get into the industry, right? What exactly do you do for them?
Well, the goal is to inspire, and it's not just females, but definitely I love to do things that are going to inspire young women, particularly in STEM careers. So that has always been a passion of mine. The key is just looking at ways that you can engage, that you can mentor, to introduce them to other opportunities and help. I feel, particularly as a female entrepreneur, I need to give back and to inspire the next growth and opportunity in entrepreneurship, but not just that, just in business in general, and helping women to aspire to be whatever they want to be.
Got you. So I'm curious, so you probably spoke to a lot of entrepreneurs and people that want to be entrepreneurs. What's one of the biggest skill sets that you've seen that these successful entrepreneurs have?
It's the gotta wanna. You gotta wanna, you wanna be successful, you're willing to work really hard to do it, And again, it's the gritty word. It's saying, I've got this. You don't have to even be the smartest or the best. You just need to be tenacious about your goals and continually achieve them. But being open-minded and listening around you, but staying true to yourself and your heart and just saying, I want to do this. I can do this. And surrounding yourself with positive people. Because positive people really help to elevate you and encourage that success, getting the negativity out of your life.
Yeah, got you. So I have a few more basic questions, but what if you could give yourself 3 tips? If you could give the younger version of yourself 3 tips of advice, what would you give it?
I would say, stay strong, believe in yourself, and don't let anyone with negativity derail you. You've got this.
Right. Got you. And then a few more questions. Sorry. Sorry, this goes back to the toy industry. I know it's a little whack, but in the toy industry, what do you see the future of toy industry going toward? Or what do you believe in as the future for toy industry?
Oh, this is kind of sad. The toy industry went through various cycles. And when I was in the toy industry, in the beginning, it was all about, we called it the flash of the pan, the big exciting product you never heard of before, the big Tickle Me Elmo or whatever it was that was the new product for the year. And as time went on, things started to change, and the economy changed, the toy industry changed. And it became, we call it back to basics. That means things that were done before that are tried and true, that are safe. That's where the industry went. They didn't want to spend millions of dollars inventing something that may be a flop. So they did another version of whatever was the past year, another version of Monopoly, another version of any product that had been successful in the past. They made it in a different way. So it became the back to basics. It became very difficult to be successful with these exciting new products because the industry wasn't as open to them. And then times changed again, and it changed to a lot of technology. Now with so much technology, are children still buying traditional products? Are they buying games? Are they doing other things? Now the toy industry has gone into movies, into the movie theater, and we were doing products that were product placements in the movie. So we would create the product to put into the movie. They'd write the story around it. I'm telling you the secrets.
Okay.
Yeah. Think Ghostbusters and all that. All those were created by a company, actually, that I'd worked for at the time, and put into the story so they would sell products. So it's changed. And then it changed again. And now it's more of an entertainment business. It's more online, and things have changed. So I don't know. Have we lost our back to basic toys? Maybe a little bit.
Got it.
Toys R Us is no longer around.
Yeah.
All the FAO Schwartz and all the things that were the mainstay of the toy industry. It's just different.
Yeah. So, wait, going back to Ghostbusters, was Ghostbusters a game before it like a toy before it became a movie?
What Ghostbusters did is they came to the organization that I worked for at that time. It was called Marvin Glass and Associates. They're the company that invented the concept of licensing toy products in the toy industry. They did millions of really successful products. They came to the company and said, create product that we can put into the movie that would be appropriate for this storyline. So we invented the toys that would go into the storyline.
Nice.
Yeah, so the guns, the goo blasters, all kinds of things were actually fabricated to encourage retail sale.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around.
You would think so. And it was initially. But over time, things changed. The industry got pretty sophisticated to say, hey, wait, we could drive traffic a different way.
Yeah.
So it became a big commercial for toys.
Yeah, so they changed the whole way they marketed toys.
Yes, and it's actually because of that I realized I want to do something different. That was my Forrest Gump moment.
Really?
When I realized I am doing product to place in a movie to inspire kids to want to buy the product. I said, I want to do something bigger. I want to do something educational. I want to do things that inspire.
Yeah. Nice. So also one more question. So in terms of like the development of toys, you mentioned, would you make the current industry go back to toys when they were more like vibrant and new and different?
Well, I think there's extraordinary value in play and playing in a different way for young children and discovering from basic blocks and Legos to whatever it might be, to computer bits that you put together. But I think there's extraordinary value in children actually thinking and playing. And I think we have gone to the electronic area, which is also really important. I think the future of AI is key, that young kids understand and feel comfortable with technology. But I think there's some of that discovery and play that we're missing. The creativity could get lost if we're moving to things that are already pre-planned for us, like video games. So I think it's important to have that nice balance. So I would love to see more, not necessarily totally back to basic, but more traditional toys that kids can play and imagine.
So do you think that creativity will be lost in children as we go more toward the game industry or electronic industry?
Absolutely. I think it has been over time. And little by little, we are losing creativity and we're losing that creative mindset. And that's where it's important to not only instill the creative mindset, but to inspire that for our future. If we're moving into a future of AI, a lot of the roles and the opportunities that we currently have are going to change. A lot of that's going to be done for us. So we need to be the thinkers. We need to have a different mindset.
Right.
And that's why I am so strong about where I am today with innovation and entrepreneurship and teaching that mindset, because that really is the future. Because it's our minds that are going to lead the AI to create and to develop, and not the other way around.
Right. Nice. So I have one more question. So you mentioned how you had to think about how the kids are affected by toys, right? Is this also a part of like market research and understanding the kids?
Definitely. Whenever we did products, we actually did market research. We'd bring them into a room with a two-way mirror. We would watch how they play. We'd see what they aspire to. We would try different concepts. So yes, and also just that's part of what I said, understanding who's your audience. What do they want? What do they like? What do they gravitate towards? And trying different samples. We would do fast prototyping. So we would do examples that were really super fast, really low cost, that we could just put in front of them and just see, do they gravitate towards it? If not, we could go back and tweak it, or we could scrap it all together, and it didn't cost us a lot of money, time, or energy. So learning fast, failing fast, and changing things, so continually find opportunities and ways to succeed in a challenging market that has a lot of ideas.
Yeah. So one more question. In the toy industry, the market is both the child as well as the parents that are buying it, right? So who do you focus on more?
That's true. So it depends on the product. So the answer is it depends.
Okay.
So the Tickle Me Elmo, for example, it really was the parent. The parent was so enamored by the fact that it was an animal that would giggle, and they loved Elmo. Right? And they love Sesame Street. It seemed wholesome. So we're actually inspiring the parent, thinking they're giving their kid something that is happy, that's inspiring, that the kid would like. But the magic of Tickle Me Elmo, for example, wasn't that it giggled, but it was that it would escalate in its giggling the more you tickled it. It just took it to a different level. It was the surprise, the unexpected.